Many of us have those old games from childhood that changed us. Something we remember vividly, either fondly or out of frustration, and often think back to. For me, that game is Digimon World. Digimon World was unlike other games. It wasn't a platformer or an RPG, really, two genres that I had the most experience with. It was nothing like Zelda, and it really didn't even feel like Pokemon. It was punishing, hard to understand, awkward to navigate, and even more awkward to explain to someone. You're telling me my partner can die from old age? This is nothing like Pokemon. And yet, in elementary school, a small group of friends and myself fell deeply in love with this game. We'd go over each other's houses after school and play Digimon, each of us taking a different route, finding a new Digimon or strange discovery that none of us had seen. It was magical, exciting, and the epitome of childlike wonder coming to life. And did I mention frustrating? I never finished this game. None of us did. IGN, in their review, gave this game a 5.8, mediocre. Well, when have we ever listened to IGN? I'm not a kid anymore, and last year, in 2024, when I started taking streaming and content creation seriously, I felt the itch to revisit this game and see what happens. Well, I finally finished it. I have thoughts. Before we continue, I'd like to take a second and thank everyone who has watched, subscribed, and enjoyed my videos. Over the last 2 months, ever since that Storing Games from a Librarian's Perspective video, we've surpassed 2,400 subscribers, made YouTube partner, and are on the last stretch for the final YouTube milestone. If you're new and haven't seen those videos, give them a watch, I'd really appreciate it, and subscribe for more videos like those and this one. I have no memory of when I got Digimon World, only that it became a cornerstone of conversation at recess between friends. This was around 2003, so way before the constant bombardment of game news sites telling you every single secret about a game that came out yesterday. I remember not even having personal access to the internet until around 2004, and it was purely to play RuneScape. And in that sense, we were lucky, because one of the greatest strengths of Digimon World is its discovery through exploration, trial, and error. Digimon World is the story of the protagonist, a character which you name, and your partner Digimon, as you explore File Island. During your adventure, you meet new Digimon and recruit them to return to File City so that it can prosper like in the old days. Now, you can go into the world and start wandering, fighting battles, finding items, and getting the city back together. But this is a terrible mistake, because at the core of this game, the absolute most vital component of Digimon World is raising your Digimon. There are no level ups or experience points like in Pokemon or Final Fantasy. There's no gear, no equipment, and no real way to passively keep your strength up. You must go to the gym and train your Digimon. Through a variety of activities, the gym allows you to specify which stats to raise and focus on. This is important because for your partner to Digivolve, you must meet certain stat requirements, usually. But there's a catch. Training too hard will get your Digimon tired. When your Digimon gets tired and you continue to push them, they can get sick or injured. You also need to make sure they stay fed, and are able to use the bathroom when necessary, and sleep when it's time to go to bed. And all of these aspects, in tandem with stats, are ingredients to achieving certain Digivolutions. It's even valid to ignore your partner's needs in some cases, because some Digivolutions require care errors. Now, you can go into the main menu and check the requirements for— oh wait, no you can't. This is Digimon World on the PlayStation 1. There is no in-game guide. If you're a kid and you're just putzing around doing your best like me, you just have to pray. You raise HP because HP is pretty important to not falling in battle. But you also raise attack because big numbers when you attack is pretty nice. But you need MP to use attacks, so you spend some time at the waterfall as well. But you know, speed would be pretty good too, because going fast— oh, look, my partner is Digivolving. And it's a Numamon, which is worse than Agumon by magnitudes. Now, you don't know any of this is gonna happen. You watched the anime on Fox Kids. You know Agumon is supposed to turn into Greymon. You were excited, and now you have this gross, slimy thing that can't do anything. Have I made any of you relive the memory of playing this game for the first time yet? You see, your Digimon is like a loud Tamagotchi. It will scream at you when it's time to eat, go to the bathroom, and sleep. It will get mad and refuse when you try to feed it because its discipline is too low, so you have to scold it. Some Digimon are satisfied by eating a couple of mushrooms. Some require 5 sirloins looking at you, Tyranitar. Money is relatively hard to get unless you do nothing but battle wild Digimon. And you're only given a certain amount of food every day when you visit the farm, so early on it's very easy to just run out. You finally Digivolve to a champion that isn't Numamon, you get Tyrannomon. It's not Greymon, but it's a giant red dinosaur. That's pretty cool. But you learn very quickly, this thing will eat you out of hearth and home. If you're just starting and don't have many Digimon recruited to the city, especially ones that improve the farm, Tyrannomon is actually a giant curse in disguise. So all that effort to raise a Digimon right, and your reward is arguably just a brand new set of problems. Well, that doesn't seem fun at all. But in a kind of sick way, it is. You see, now the game presents you with a veiled opportunity. For the foreseeable future, you have this strong champion-level Digimon that can overcome a lot of early to mid-game challenges. But you have to contend with the issue of food, money, making sure you have the items to heal it if it gets sick, and what sacrifices need to be made. Could this Digimon make it to the next Digivolution level? Maybe, but you have no idea what the requirements are. Suddenly it dawns on you that this opportunity is timed. In the best case scenario, you don't lose any battles. Your Digimon will still eventually die of old age. How much work can you get done before that happens? How much training can you get in? How many days are left? At this point you make a plan. Schedule where you want to go and when. There were obstacles earlier you were unable to overcome, or were too afraid to try when your Digimon was so weak. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Remember when I said one of Digimon World's greatest strengths was the sense of adventure, trial, and error? It also can end up being one of its biggest weaknesses. There's no conceivable way that a kid can figure out even half of what I just said, and the act of raising a Digimon can ultimately just be an exercise in frustration, especially if you continue to fail over and over. I remember back in school, we used the computer lab to print out the entirety of a 100-page plus game facts guide on Digimon World that we would trade around. It was like a gigantic, worn, ripped pamphlet that had guides on what stats you needed to get specific Digivolutions, or where the Digimon you could recruit to the city were located, and how to get them. I wish I still had it somewhere. It's legitimately just so funny that this game was so mind-bogglingly confusing and obtuse that we needed to print out a guide to be passed around. This isn't even a hot take apparently. When I was streaming this, people would come into chat and talk about how it was only in the last several years that the hardcore Digimon World community actually started figuring out the specifics of what the heck was going on underneath everything. I haven't even mentioned how laughably bad the English translation is for this game. I don't know if it was a lack of experience or just a poor translation, but it honestly feels like the English was not written by people who understand English. I don't even mind this, it's actually kind of charming. Characters try to say a whole lot in as little as possible, probably to fit the text on screen, but then you have items that abbreviate random words because there's just no room. So all that said, we have a game that is unlike most others of its time, is confusing, hard to understand, has maybe one of the worst and funniest translations of the time, and had guides written by people that were just downright incorrect for decades. But it was still fun. There's so many Digimon to see and collect in this game. There's a whole system of how to unlock new moves, tons of minigames, fishing, secrets, unique zones, and an incredible aesthetic that makes this game feel one of a kind. Walking across the various landscapes feels like the juxtaposition of someone designing a world sitting flush with a motherboard, with plugs and outlets and pieces of technology sticking out of the ground. I am not an expert on this game, and beyond that first couple of seasons of the anime, I know next to nothing about Digimon. I'm not even really a huge Digimon fan, but this game still lives rent-free in my mind. It's actually funny. Coincidentally, while writing this, Digimon World is getting thousands of votes on the GOG preservation program. If there was any game to bring back from the PlayStation 1 era, I think I'd have to go with this one. It's just too weird and unique to let die. I don't consider this video a retrospective, and I have no interest in revealing more than I have already. Despite all I've said, and despite how frustrating I may have made this sound, please do yourself a favor and play it if you can. Go in knowing nothing. Make mistakes. and be surprised at what happens. And then use a guide, because I sure as heck did.